broadcasting live from our studio in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox City's Core on WCZR Cold Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core.
My next guests, they are a Nashville-based band that creates music that spans blues, folk, reggae, and world music. They're currently on a Wisconsin tour. They play in Madison in a couple days. I'm happy to welcome the Senie Hunt Trio. Welcome, you guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hey, Andy.
Yeah. You had today off. You have tomorrow off. I hope you were staying inside or maybe going to the beach.
Gosh, the hottest 3 days ever, probably.
Are you staying at a friend's house?
My parents' house, yeah.
So everybody's settled in and
yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Super nice, super generous, and welcoming. So that's been awesome. Yeah.
And Senie, you've been through Wisconsin a bunch of times before.
No, I've actually.
First
so
time?
This is my first time. I go up northeast towards New England a lot, but this is my first time in Wisconsin and having a blast so far. It's been a great trip, and our shows have been going great. So we're excited to keep going.
Were the previous shows outside in the heat?
Yeah, yesterday.
Two of them.
Two of them were outside, and it was weird because the first one was earlier, and we ended at 9, and then the second one we did at was it Fletch? Not Fletch.
The second one, Fletch's in Oshkosh. Yep.
And it was we started a little earlier or later, and I think we ended at 11, and it was the Bugs. Like it's just like it was a whole
relentless
different thing. Yeah.
Because we have the lights in front of us,
stage lights too,
all the bugs came, and then we have the fan, so the fan threw to our mouth.
I treated it as a game. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a really quick pow pow and get them all flying and scare them because they'd sit on my cymbal and they go in between the drum head and the rim. And I thought, oh no, can't have this. I just got a new snare too from Sweetwater, so should have known they were gonna come creeping.
You posted a picture of that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Oh man,
it's treating you well so far.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So would you rather play in the heat or with the massive amount of bugs?
Heat.
A heat for sure, because you can put the fan on, you can, but bugs. I mean. I'm using my hands all the time, but they'll land on my fingers.
Flick them away.
And it's I'm in the middle of a riff or a song or whatever, and it's I'm wincing at the and I'm waiting for the chance to actually just swat it away. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll turn away from the mic and I'll just blow on my hand or on my.
At least I have sticks. I have weapons. They can't come for me.
Yeah.
So how did this trio get together?
So it's somewhat not that long, kind of long. So I grew up in New England, in New Hampshire, originally from Sierra Leone, but I grew up in New England, and I had always wanted to play with musicians and start a band. And when I came to Nashville first about 4 years ago, I actually linked up with two other musicians that I actually started the trio with. It was Terrence Chenard was a bass player out in Nashville, and Sean Janae, who's also a drummer out there. He plays other instruments too, but that was the first infancy of the band. And then we did a spontaneous show. I was playing a solo set, and I saw there was a bass player and a drummer, and I was like, hey, would it be cool to do a couple songs together? And then we played a set and just literally went outside in the back. I showed them a few of the chords in the wrong tuning, and they still figured it out. And then we did a couple shows then, and then I went to New England and started a kind of a bigger band there. And so every time I go back there, I play with my band up there. Same songs, same kind of music, but the members are different. And then I came back here. And gradually I met Victor and my friend Bella, who's also a keyboardist that we have. And then there was one show where the drummer I usually had, he wasn't available, and he said, but he was like, hey, I know someone who can fill in, and it was pretty last minute. I mean, just a few days before the gig, and Jenna was that drummer, and we had a great show. I mean, we did one rehearsal. and then had the show like the next day pretty much, and it went really well. And now I just it's and get this is the first tour I've done with tour in terms of us all going to the same place, but we'll definitely be doing more. So yeah, but it's it's been different iterations of the band, but we it's same music and the vibes. So that's what I like. If we can get together, create a vibe for the band, for the artist, for the audience. Yeah. So
is the other version of the band also called the Senie Hunt Trio?
Still the Senie Hunt. So recently I've been going through sort of I used to have two. I had the project, which was the band stuff, and then Senie Hunt was the solo stuff. And what I realized over the last few years is it's really hard to keep up with all the socials. So keeping up with two social media
I did that
pages.
too. I had my personal one and then my music one after college.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone still goes and follows the personal. So I literally put in my bio, like, I don't use this anymore. Please go to the music one.
Yeah,
but.
see, I think I'm early enough that I could get rid of that page and I'd be okay. And I've made a few posts and saying, hey, this page is going to go away, but the band is still going to be a thing. But I play some of the same songs solo as I do with the band, and vice versa. So I was like, there's no need to have to, and just to make it easier on people, because sometimes I'll have shows and they'll tag the solo page when it should be tagging the band page, or vice versa. Or they'll tag the personal page, and then I never see it because I'm like, I don't really go on like that. And then it's like, all right, well, now I got to figure out how I can put it all together. And so the trio, it's Senie Hunt, and then if we're trio, quartet. That way it's just much easier. But the page itself is just Senie Hunt, and then Facebook is Senie Hunt Music, and just makes it easier.
Social media is such a pain in the butt. Gets in the way of playing music. And so, Senie, you're doing all the social media for this trio, and then the other one. And Jenna and Victor, you guys have other projects that you're also doing. So this run didn't get in the way of any of your other projects?
No, we all had the same 12 days open.
That's pretty good.
I work my magic, with booking all the venues.
Yeah, she booked this whole tour. This is all yeah.
I think when you're like a professional musician, you need to also understand that you need to be really good with, Google Calendar and, schedule everything, because it's like they can, receive a call and said like, okay, today, you remember we have a gig? No, you need to be really professional in advance. So we booked this, Gina was...
I was really lucky it came together pretty last minute. Some of the times I come up to Wisconsin and I book a full week. I know locals probably do that many months in advance, but I somehow find out the right venues and make it work. So I'm very grateful to everyone who's had us, Little Jamaica and Fletches and all the people involved. Yeah. And also
they are super
Eden Avenue, rebranded
in
in West Bend. That was cool too.
They are super awesome with us. They are super nice. So we are super lucky.
Yes, and then also the Red Rooster in Madison. I've never played Madison before. I got some family out there that's gonna come out and see me play. And then Local 5 Live with
did you guys do Local 5?
Not yet. We're gonna
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday morning. Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna
Live
drag him to
TV.
Lambeau Field or something and kill time before Hagemeister Park, our last show.
So the Fletches, that's the one in Oshkosh. Senie, how did you feel with the echo there? Because when I've played there, all that wood seems to be very prone to reverb.
There's a lot of people. There's quite a bit of people there, and when you throw in more interference, it can prevent that. So I don't think we had too much of an issue with that. Also, we only ran her kick pedal and like vocals through the speaker. So I think that helped. And it was, I think, I don't think we had too much of a. If I run into a place like that, I don't, on my electric side, I don't really use a lot of reverb except for certain songs. It's more of a little embellished for certain things. And then even acoustically, it came out well. I think I got lucky with a really good crowd. We had people came up right up front, and I think that probably helped, cushion the reverb reflections and stuff. Yeah.
I know that Jenna is a multi-instrumentalist. She also plays keyboard and a lot of other stuff. I saw her recital. Victor, do you play multiple instruments besides the bass?
Well, I play upright bass. That is my principal instrument. I was studying classical music for many years. I play in the Nashville Philharmonic Orchestra, but I was playing in different orchestras around my life. But also I play more than instrument. I play styles, different styles. So yeah, I play electric bass and upright bass, and between that, I was playing for different projects like, movies, video games, bands, rock bands. I play jazz also. So yeah, I try to play more in this style.
Do you have a preferred style?
No. I love to
Correct
connect.
answer.
Yeah. I think be a musician is like understand the music as a language. So it's that for me. It's like different.
And the more you
language.
know, the better off you are. Too.
For example, jazz is a language. So when you met with the people that play jazz, you talk in that language, But also you can use your background of, knowledge of rock, put in some stuff there. The same thing like when you're playing rock, I put my background in classical. And because when you study that, you understand that everything is a circle. So for me, that was a big deal. I was studying classical music for many years. And one guy, my master class with a really awesome guy, top guy, and he said in Europe, try to study more about music. Music is right now you have the half of the knowledge of the music. You need to understand as a circle. So yeah, I ended up I finished like studying in Berkeley. I found Berkeley and I love it. I was there. I studied different style. I played with a lot of different artists, rock, pop, Middle Eastern music, Chinese music, Mexican, mariachi, everything. So it's most like absorb this language, and try to play and try to get that.
And Senie, you're self-taught on the guitar, aren't you?
Yeah. So for most of everything I do, I tried lessons. So I played. I still play the djembe, which is a West African hand drum. So when I was in Sierra Leone, that's where I started that. And that was sort of so I grew up in a rough time in Sierra Leone, but the music and percussion was a good outlet for me at the time. And when I came to the States, I kept playing the percussion, kept playing the hand drums, and then when I came to guitar, I had heard the guitar for the first time, or really heard it for the first time when my mom used to play a James Taylor album in the morning, and so I'd wake up with James Taylor and rice cooking, and it was just the best morning ever, and
nice.
And so I finally I asked her what the instrument was, and ended up with the guitar like the next Christmas, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I thought it was cool and all, but I just put it on my lap and just started drumming on it, and so I developed a sort of a percussive finger style by doing that, and then as the years progressed, I finally, my dad came in the picture, and he got me into Hendrix, B.B. King, some of the heavy hitter blues, and I started watching the VHS tape of Stevie Ray Vaughan live in Texas, and I would just keep watching that, and I'd keep watching him, and I'd see, he was playing it upright, so I'd try to just mimic what I was seeing, and so I would like rewind and try to play the riffs, rewind, fast forward, whatever, until I could get the riffs sounding as close as possible. And that's when I like really got. I think by that point I was like, I'm gonna play every day. I'm gonna play as much as I can. And I tried lessons there was like a period of time where I took up I think 3 or 4 lessons in a town that was nearby. But it was just hard to get to them. And so we stopped for a while. And then when I got to college, that's when I started to realize, I should be putting music in the forefront. It took me, about 4 years of college or 4 or 5 years of college and 3 different colleges to realize, maybe you don't need college for the music. But my last semester, I had, when you go into music, you have a required instrument you have to play, secondary instrument, and then a required amount of courses. And I had to take 12 guitar lessons, but I ended up I think I made it to like 4 or 5 of them. And I sat down with my instructor at the time, and he was amazing. But he told me, he was like, look, you either have to unlearn what you've been doing, which is the percussive style, or this might not be the thing for you. And I said, look, I'm not gonna erase the years of playing the style that I like just for this. So I ended up dropping out and just pursuing it on my own. Coming with YouTube. You can get anything now. Basically, all these songs are all over, and I just decided I would just learn that way. And when it came to theory, like I just it's still a foreign language to me in the written style. But when I play it, someone could tell me, oh, you're playing the melodian whatever, and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, so I guess I know it, I just don't know what it's called. And so if you told me vice versa, like you named something, I'd be like, I don't know what that is, and then they would show it to me and be like, oh, I know what that is, and like, well, that's it. And so I started learning it that way, which, because I'm very hands-on and very, like, if I'm doing it, I pick it up better. But yeah, so, and then vocals, I didn't really get into vocals until later, and I'm one of those where I sing because I play, where there's some musicians that started playing because they sing, so they need something in the background. And I'm still, that vocals are probably in the last 10 years. But other than that, I've been playing guitar for about 23 or 24 years, something like that. So
it's a pretty good chunk of time. And it's interesting because it sounds like how you're learning from watching and then trying to mimic that on the instrument. It's almost like paint by numbers in a way. And the fact that you're able to soak it in without knowing the technical side, does that make it challenging when you're trying to explain something to Victor? And
well, actually, sort of the other way around. Like with me, like I'll be playing something and I won't understand it, but then I'll turn to Victor or Bella as another, and I'll be like, or even Sean, and I'll say, hey, like here's what I'm playing. Can you explain that to whoever needs to know? And
the band,
and the band, or even to me sometimes, because it's like I'll be like, I'd like to know, because if I go to another band and I do it, I want to know kind of what I'm doing, so I can explain it better to the substitute or whoever's playing with me at the time. And it's Victor, and they've been great with that. So, but it's interesting because I do all the mimicking, but I write more than I do anything else. And even when I'm trying to mimic something, what ends up happening is I'll start playing it, and then I'll be like, oh, this is a cool thing. What if I went this way instead? And start writing something else and start creating. And if you do it right, there's some bands that I won't name the bands, but you'll who I'm talking about, that will play a riff and they'll claim it as their own, and you listen over history and you're like, oh well, I've heard this riff or this song, literally this song. But there's a certain level of influence that like you take. And you almost have to like there's no way you can't. It's almost impossible to create a like completely from scratch, like without knowing the instrument, knowing anyone else in existence. Like something influenced you to play this this way or that way, and it's not a bad thing. I think it should be appreciated more. But obviously you don't want to steal the material, but you give credit where credit's due, and that's where. For me, it comes in all these great heroes that have influenced my style and my playing. But I just, I developed the way I play based on, what came before. And I think that's something that people should cherish more rather than feel like I feel like shamed because I'm not really making and I'm not doing something new or inventive. So, yeah.
So how often are you writing new material, and did you start out playing covers for quite a while? You said you're learning like by watching Stevie Ray Vaughan, or you're taking it, making it your own the whole time? Yeah, so I, early on I would learn, mostly learn the riffs and learn certain songs that I connected with more. And I learned these covers so that I could learn the techniques in them. Not that was what I was thinking at the time, but when I look back and understand the process, I got those techniques from that. But I write like instrumentally. I can write like you give me a guitar right now. Like we were just in the living room of Jenna's parents, and after we did a little rehearsal,
It's on Facebook now.
Oh, yeah.
I was scrolling. I was like, "Oh, that jam! It's public."
But I was just and then afterwards I'll just kind of take some time, put it in some tuning, and start finger picking in something, and nothing. When I sit down, I should also say, I don't write my music down. So even that's the other part that I love about these guys. Like I don't write anything down. So it's like everything is either by ear or by rehearsal, and like I'll send it, and it's very I could see where it'd be very frustrating to try to learn my music or learn a song that I do, especially since not all of it is traditional. Like even the covers we do them, I guess my way. I say it in the sense that I learned it by ear, so I interpret it the way I interpreted it. It's not necessarily the same way as the cover or same way as the original, but so even in that sense, we're writing, and I'd say probably, even within our covers, like, and our originals, I'd say, like, every show we're doing something different. Whether it's sometimes it's literally on the spot. I mean, last couple shows we were playing a cover, Ain't No Sunshine, and we ended up going into this jam that none of us saw it coming until we started doing it, and then we pulled back into the original, and that just comes out of like, I mean, I've only played that song a few times, but I love the song, and I wanted something new. And so we threw it onto this tour, and
it's so crazy because I feel like, Victor, you're like the opposite. You're like, you got your sheet music, you've like got it all notated, and then I'm kind of like a mix of the two. Because I was pretty much learned by ear, and then college was the opposite. So now I'm just like, well, I have the life I had before, and now the life I have now, blending it all. So, but it all works. We have so much fun, and it gets better and better, I feel.
Yeah.
Also, what happened, I think, is like really active. The music is super alive. So, okay, we have, I wrote like for example, okay, this is the song, this is the music, but every time we have improvisation, it's super open to the ear, So we don't count. Okay, we're going to make 11 measure of improvisation. No, it's just like whatever is happening at that moment, we are doing. And then, like, we are listening each other. So I'm listening, like, we are building the solos. I'm listening, like, to Senie, what is going on with the guitars, what he likes to speak with the guitar. And we are doing, as a rhythm section with Jenna, try to, follow that, because that is our job,
There's only 3 of us, so.
So it's great. I think people love that about our band, because we are playing and they love that it's like alive, that music. It's just not like, okay, we are playing this and now we're going to the chorus and then we have 8 measure and now we're going again to the verse, 8 measure more. No, it's like, okay, we're going here, then we're going to somewhere else, Or, sometimes like, Senie begin to play like something and we begin to follow and we begin to play.
Yeah, we do sometimes complete improvisation. Every now and then, in the middle of a set, we'll just start. I'll just start playing something.
We did a show recently at this place called The End in Nashville, and the drummer before us provided the kit, but he was a left-handed drummer, so it was just like switching everything around. But the hardware was so old-fashioned. I had never seen anything like it. It was just like, it was like, imagine a robot coming to life and trying to like mess everything up. Like
Scary.
I don't know, it was crazy. So anyway, I was playing and the kick drum and the pedal just like detached from each other, but the kick was like moving further until I'm playing and it wasn't even like attached to the drum anymore. So we're doing Voodoo Child and it's right, the biggest moment, the solo's coming and drums are out and I was like, oh no. But you later messaged and you're like, hey, we should like continue that dropout because then you guys kind of played off each other. Yeah. I'm down there, I'm trying to fix it, and it broke a second or third time, and I just I gave up. But
I thought it was intentional, and I was like,
but it doesn't make sense to have this band bring your drums and then the next band bring backline is essential.
I saw that happen because always I'm checking, as a bass player, I'm checking like Gina and Senie, and I saw that happen. So I went to the Senie. And we going to like go more quiet,
Yep.
but I begin to play a little more slappy.
Yeah, he's
so I can
so-
have the
so
percussion
percussion,
too. So percussion and sound, on the bass. So give supporting for the solo. So we build from that. So
Yep.
we give the time and said,
Yep.
don't worry, we have this.
And then she came
Take
back,
your
came
time.
back in, and
Yeah,
then it just
we can do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it's one of my all-time favorite songs. But there's so much you can do with that song, and I am a guitarist, and I do consider myself a lead guitarist, but I don't like soloing too much because it's like, for me, it's one of those, and I shouldn't say I don't like over soloing, because it to me it's like, all right, I just did a solo. I don't need to do the solo, but if we can do a solo, do one really loud, lively, and then bring it down and come down. That's where it like reignites an idea in me, and I'm like, and so that was what that did, is like, I was like, oh, cool, like we can work with this and come down and feel, like, find ways to build it up. And then we did some false builds because I thought she was ready, and then came back down, and then
I thought so too,
yeah,
man.
but no, yeah, but it is
That freaking kid.
Even that is cool, because it and like Victor said, it's alive. It's a living.
Yeah.
The songs are a living thing, and it's they want to go one way or the other, and they want to build and they want to grow.
And I think people love to see that. Like, live music is different, and they need to be different than an album,
Yeah.
They need to, like, okay, an album is an album, and, that is perfect for that. But live music need to be different.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I've and I thought it's funny, is I've heard some of my friends say that they like when they go to see their favorite band play, and they're like, oh, I want to hear it exact. I think all of Broadway, they play everything. I mean, and I understand why, because they a lot of times they're playing with members that they've never played with before. And like they
But also it's Broadway, because people go there to listen.
But and so and I always find it weird, like when people say, when they go to see their favorite band play, they want to hear the song exactly how it is on the album, how they remember it on the album. And to me, it's like, if I'm going to do that, I'll just put in the album, or I'll go back and put in a video of it. But if I'm going to go see the band, I want to see what they, like, how did they grow? How did they evolve from that song? Like, and that's what I love about some of the local bands that I go see, and I'll get their album and I'll listen to their song. I'm like, oh wow, it's very different. I like it because it is. And then when I go to see them live again, they've added a horn section or something like that. And I mean, you don't have to go that big, but watching a song evolve, and this is why I loved Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, is every time you'd hear them play, literally every time. Every time Hendrix would play Voodoo Child, it was different, to the point where I, like, some of the chords I just guessed, because I'm like, I don't even know if they were the right chords, but they sounded right at the time. But then I'd go watch another video and he'd be doing something a little bit different in the chords. And then there's the was Voodoo Chile, where he does his whole intro is different. I mean, he starts singing with the guitar in it, and it's like, it's a cool thing to see where their ideas go and where the songs go with that. Whereas if you just hear the same song for decades, just the same way every time, you're like, well, and that's how I get tired of songs sometimes. It's like, every time I hear it's the same version, and that's why I love watching people do covers or reinterpretations, as I call it. And that's what I do when I do covers. I reinterpret it in a certain way, the way I would think of it. Versus the way the artist, but with enough recognition that it's the song. Yeah.
So it looks like you started releasing music, and I hate talking about it, but right before COVID. So tell me about that and how that affected the rollout of.
So the first EP I released, Songbird, which again you can find anywhere, all streaming platforms. But that album. So that album took a while to make. It took. It even took a while because I actually got reached out by a studio in the Boston area, Plaid Dog, and they reached out to me, and it's funny because they reached out to me and they mentioned Bandcamp, and you know, like I put stuff up there, but like I hardly ever check it. So I got the message and I thought, this must be a scam. It's like, oh, we'll record your album for free. We'll crowdfund so you can finish the rest of it. And so I took it. It's whatever. So I skipped it. Whatever. Went into the junk mail, and then I get a message back again a few weeks later. Same thing. He said, hey, just following up. Wanted to see if you. And then I was like, I'll give it a shot. What's the harm of just replying? Like, I won't click the links, but reply. So I reply, and I get a human back, and then I get a phone call to make sure that they're real. And then I'm like, what? Why not? Well, it's free. All I have to do is get a lot of emails and send them out, and that process took a while. But when I finally finished that album, released it, and this was just probably 2 years before COVID, and then the following year I decided to do another album, self-released, self-recorded, my Christmas album, and then after that album, I was like, I want to do music full time. This was late 2019, as we all know that's around when things started to. So I quit my day job, and I went full time for the first few months, going solid. And then we get the announcement that everything's shutting down, and I was like, man, well, what timing? But actually, it was a blessing, because what it did is it forced me to get my online presence back, and so I started doing music festivals that were online, and I even did some that were hosted in Nashville, but I did it from New England. This was before I moved, and then I was like, I should move down to Nashville. So made the move down, and now, but during that time, I'd started recording the album that I'm still working on now, which has been in process for so many years. But we're almost there. But it's such a, because I don't think a lot of people don't realize what goes behind. You got to write the songs for one, and just writing the songs isn't enough. You have to pick the songs that work. Otherwise, you're just making a mixtape, which nobody does mixtapes anymore. And you want the song to fit into the album, and so this will be my first full-length album. But the process has been so long, because of this mixing stage, there's the mastering, but for me, recording, I had to do a lot of things. I'd come up to New England, and then I'd go to the recording session, come back to Nashville, be in Nashville for a few months, and then schedule a tour in New England, go back to New England, try to find time to get in the studio to finish more, and then now it's all, we can do it all pretty much virtually. But the process is, I almost felt like giving up at that point with this album. I was just like, this is taking so long. But I've been saying each year, and I joke about this each year, I'm like, and I've got a new full-length album coming out by the end of this year. I said that last year, but I promised this year. And so it's like a running joke now at this point, but it is very close to being done. I won't say when, because I won't hold myself to it, but
so it's mostly logistics holding up.
It's logistics. It's and then I know part of it also was like at this point, like all those songs, like I said with my music, all those songs have changed. There's different versions of them now. But for me, I'm going to release the versions that I've recorded, and then but then it took me a while to realize I can always people re-release albums all the time, or songs in like version 2 or new version, or the and so I'm like, I can do that. So I'll get this album done, come back and rework the songs the way that they are as of now, and then get those recorded at a later time.
It really is strange, and you bring up a good point, because I never really thought of it like that before. You used to be stuck. You released something. Now you just put it out digital. You can just change it and put it out again. It's
and that's,
I can't believe
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. It's your art. It's your thing, creation. It's like, yeah, and that's why I'm doing it, because I have a different. It's evolved. I've changed since then, and the funny part is listening back to my voice has changed too. Like back then, I've been singing for a little bit, but I don't think I had my voice yet at that point, and so I'm like listening back to the songs, and I'm like, this isn't me. I mean, it doesn't sound bad, but I'm like, this is whole different me now, and I versus how I sing now, and so it's. But
I can't listen to my old EPs either. I think a lot of musicians are like that. I think that's why they release stuff.
See, that's the trick now is that I have to just not listen to them and then just send them back to the studio. Hey, okay, good, get it mixed, and then do the quick listen, and then send it back immediately and be like, okay, here are the changes, make the changes, and then shut it out of my brain so that I can release it without making the judgments or all that. But yeah.
So you've got a trio right now. Has Jenna been she been suggesting maybe adding some keyboards or piano to any of the songs?
Bella.
We're touring as a trio. It's a much easier to tour as a trio. I actually did think of, but Bella was away for a while. She was back in time, but I think she had something else, some other things going on too. But we'd already promoted it as a trio, and is eventually. I think maybe next time we could talk about. But the other things like sometimes you and this is probably a thing especially in Nashville. Certain venues they'll only pay you a certain amount, and it's like at that point it's like, you're getting like $25 a person or something like that. And it's like it's not worth bringing any more than a certain amount, and so it's this for me. It is a business. It is a career. I do enjoy it too, and I want to be able to enjoy it, but at the same time, I want to be able to pay my band. I want to be able to get my pay my rent, pay my food and all that stuff. And so that's sometimes hard to convince to venues, because it's like your skill level, your professional level, and like kind of what you're worth in that sense, and you can be making more, but trying to get a venue to see that and see like, are you worth it? And it's like, yeah, we're like, just book us. We'll do everything. We'll do what we need to do. You do your part. We'll do our part. We'll get in there, and we'll play a really good show. But at the same time, I also understand they need to bring people in.
Well, it's interesting you say that. We met a good friend of PETA from Unity the band at our West Bend show, and he said that him and PETA would go and hang out at a lot of these Wisconsin venues and see how popular they were and how many people would come in before approaching them for gigs. Because if there's no people, there's no money. They got to make at least enough to pay the band. So I thought that was really smart. I never thought about that before.
Because
I book so many things throughout the year that's a really good way to look at it. I'm going to start looking at it now.
Yep.
Well, I know that you two moved down to Nashville. Victor, were you originally from Nashville, or you moved?
No, I am from Chile.
Okay, so all three of you were transplants.
Just down the road.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest shock about moving to Nashville? Something that maybe you didn't expect, and then all of a sudden you got there and you're like, well, this is not what I expected? Or was everything just about exactly what you thought it was going to be?
Well, I moved from Boston. I was living there for 7 years, and was totally different in the South. Like, they were super nice. The first things that shocked me, like, the waitress says, how are you, honey? Do you like something more? Like super nice things. They are super nice. The weather is much better. Sometimes you see people having guns, so that is shocking for me, because in Boston they don't have that. It's illegal. So you can see in Walmart or pawn shop, like, they are selling guns, and that is a big thing for me, especially because I have kids now, and yeah. But it's nice. It's just changing because a lot of people are moving too, also, and everything is growing up, in Nashville. Like, I don't know, but it's still nice. It's still a nice place. It's kind of a bubble inside of the South.
Oh yeah.
So, and you feel that, and yeah. But it's awesome. It's an awesome place also for being a musician. Well, to be an artist is awesome, because you can do wherever you want, during any night, and you're going to see an awesome artist. Always. You're never going to be like, okay, I'm going to an open mic, and always you're going to see everyone is awesome there. Like, everyone is super nice, super awesome artists, like amazing musicians that are there.
That probably really helps you up your game too, because you're constantly trying to keep up.
But the problem is, like, the business owners, they know about that, so they don't treat good. You know, they don't give you good deals as a band.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. It's more harder. But in the other way, like as an artist, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like really, really well. You can see here. You know, I went from Boston and I saw these guys, and they're amazing. You know.
I think something that shocked me was just how much work there is. And people are ready for you whenever. I keep track of all my gigs, and they just multiplied since, my days living up here. And I'm always traveling, like always on a plane. And I've been to, I think, 23 states now, as before I was to, like, 3. All since moving.
And you like the traveling part of it.
I do, not the 4 a.m. flights. But yeah, sorry, Mom and Dad. I will not be moving back up here. I like it a lot.
Sounds pretty nice over at your house, though.
Yeah, we got baby and cats and dogs and
super nice.
Yeah, for me, it's the before I moved down, I heard probably the same way everyone hears Nashville. Like, go in, you're gonna see the next Johnny Cash or the next Taylor Swift or the next whatever, and so I was like, so I took it as like, so we're gonna see new music coming out, new this and that, more new artists, and I think for the biggest shock for me was going in and seeing how many covers. I mean, there are places that do original music, and there is that where people are coming up with their new stuff, but it was just I was like really shocked to see how, and when I went in and I requested an original from a band, they like looked at me like it was like I had something on my head or something, but they enjoyed it, they played it, and they got the opportunity, but that was one of the biggest shocks for me, and like Victor said, the first thing, like a first gas station I was in, most of the gas stations in New England, you go and you buy whatever you're getting. No, sometimes zero words are exchanged, whatever. I get down there and it's like they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know what to say," because no one just I just came
oh
here
my
to get
gosh,
gas.
my first time through a Wendy's drive-through, she's like, "Is that all, baby girl?" And I looked, I was what? But like these southern food chains, they really talk to you like you're part of the family.
Yep.
Everywhere.
The other things, one of the obvious, I'm of darker skin, I'm black, and that's one thing in New England is it there's a lot of, it's very what's the word? It's very white, and that's most of the country in general, but coming down to Nashville, like even before getting to Nashville, I was just shocked to see how many people, like, again, Nashville's not in no way a representation of like a very super diversity, but just to compare it to New England, I was just shocked to see like everywhere I went, I saw someone like me, and it was just they're just doing their own thing, whatever, and that was one of the other shocks that I had, and it was like, I was like, which is interesting, it was a cultural shock for me, because I grew up, in a more white areas of New Hampshire, and it was pleasant, obviously, to get to experience that, but it comes with its own issues. There are racial issues, that's all of it, but it was I didn't feel alone, I guess, in that sense. And a lot of my, actually Tito, our friend that introduced me.
Hi,
to
Tito.
Yeah, if you're watching, Tito.
We'll send it
he's
over.
awesome. He's but he was one of the first kind of like people like Who's Black that I got to really connect with in the city, and met so many musicians through him, and so many people just in general. And then just that, like, just you meet people. And you watch them play on stage, and they're incredible, and then they come out so down to earth, and it's like obviously you'll meet a lot of people that'll have that kind of like, oh yeah, I'm like I'm the top dog, and it's like anyone like that says that, like they could be really good, they might be incredible, but you're in a city with thousands of incredible musicians.
That is amazing.
I'm not gonna remember you tomorrow, like in that sense. But the people that like you really meet and that get down to earth and like really connect with beyond just music, they're the people like I remember more. But there's so much of that as well, because I mean, everyone, almost, my Uber driver was a musician, and I remember that because it just came up in conversation, but he does Uber, so I remember that. And then my hotel, one of the hotels I went in, the valet was a musician, and there's so many musicians and artists all over the place.
Every time I get a Dutch Bros coffee, shout out to Dutch Bros Coffee.
I haven't had it yet, but I will. Yeah,
Next time
they're
I
not
come.
up here, but I keep making friends with each of the people there through the drive-thru. I'm a regular, and more and more of them are musicians. I keep meeting more that work there, so it's everybody.
Yeah, everyone in Nashville is a musician. For sure, you're going to have this
but
conversation
even
because in
then
Nashville.
they're good too. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, they have
you
the
go
different,
somewhere
and also sometimes your neighbor, you never know, was an artist before, or he was working
like a
for
famous,
someone. I have a neighbor that she never told me she was, when I said oh, I'm a musician, she said, oh, I was working in music too, but she never mentioned more. And then after, the days that we were moving, she said, okay, I was working as a director in the Sony Music, first woman director. I was working with Steve Rebon. I was working with, and he said, why you didn't mention? Well, because I have many things in my garage that are like a gold album of Michael Jackson and stuff like that. So, but it's just crazy. And I said, oh yeah, and the neighbor was the guitar player for Elvis, and So that is amazing about Nashville. You can see, or when you go into studio, people are super nice. These guys, old guys, and I play for John Lennon, all these guys you can't believe it. And they are super humble. They are super nice.
Yeah. But I think the humbleness is the thing that I like. I mean, it's not everywhere, but for me, actually, simple. For me, if you're humble and you and it doesn't even have to be being humble, but just there's no don't try to I don't personally care. I love celebrities. I love getting to know them, but I know that they're also they're like us. They're human, and when it comes down to it, everything, it's just they're humans put in the spotlight. They're trying to be the normal human in front of everyone else, but so they have to do things that seem like they're more better or this or that. But when it comes down to it, if I would feel really weird if I was constantly on camera, and I would feel like I would have to be perfect every time, and that would
well, look at this, how many are facing us.
Oh yeah. As if 4 or 5 cameras there, but it's when I find that connecting with people on a level that's just a human, the human element of it, that is where because there's so many musicians in town, like I said, but I'm playing with these two, and I'm playing the rest of the bands that I play with. They're the people that I connect with beyond just the music, and they're incredible. And then maybe.
Oh, this is the moment. Sorry,
yeah. So it's there are thousands of people I could be playing with, but I have the people that I enjoy playing with, and that's because when it comes down to it, you're not just it's if you can be friends with the people you're playing with, then you enjoy the moments that you do, because it's hard. We'll show up to like we did a gig where there was no one there. And if you're playing with people that you don't like playing with, and you show up and you get it to the gig, and it's there's no one there. It's tough. It's tough even with the people you like, and it's just oh man, we could have just been at home or done whatever, but
that is part of being an artist.
But it's part. It's part of being the artist.
You're going to be in a stage that nobody going to be there. And
or you might get there so nobody likes you.
Or you can be in a stadium, or you can be with 1,000 of people, or in a theater with a. That's going to happen as an artist.
But being around the people that it feels a little. It makes it a little bit easier. It cushions the.
It's interesting. I just did a gig before we flew here the other day, and someone came up, and they're like, "You're not a real musician unless you've played to empty rooms." what do you feel about that? And no one has ever quite worded it like that. But I guess maybe what she meant is maybe you're not full time. Because I feel like if you're playing a lot more at a lot of different times of day, like 9 in the morning, people aren't gonna be there. But I thought that was interesting comment.
Although in some, like, you know, there's some people that hit it off real immediately. But then it comes into like, all right, what kind of connections you have, like maybe, you know, like if you're coming from a family of musicians, like, but that's a whole different thing. That's just like, you know, it's like anything. Some people are gonna have a leg up, some people are not. But either way, everyone's playing as best they can, to the fullest that they can. Because with the passion that they need to be successful. But yeah, I agree. Like, you know, everyone I talked to at some point in time, they played for either zero people or a very small audience.
I can piggyback off that because we were talking to some musicians last night about playing in empty rooms once in a while, and you never know if there's just a couple people there. You never know if one of those. We've got a lot of people in the Fox Cities that go around and take pictures of artists. And nowadays with social media, one cool looking picture you don't know if there's nobody there. If the picture looks awesome, you know, that gets shared around and people are like, I want to go check out that band or that artist.
Oh gosh, in Nashville though, I mean, there's managers and agents like everywhere. Like I've met some really cool people. Like
when you said that, it sounded like scary at first. Like there's managers and agents everywhere.
Well, there's
chopping block.
I was playing just around that. There was very few people there, but just happened that one of the couples there they work for Symphonic Distribution, which is a relatively newer distribution company, but they do label stuff and as well, stuff that labels do, but without the, you know, selling your soul kind of. Not every label does. I should say that, but they weren't there for music. They weren't there to book anyone. They weren't there to hear music. They were just there to come have dinner. And they came up to me and asked me about. They were like, hey, like we weren't expecting anyone to be playing here, or let alone playing an instrumental original. And then, you know, they talked to me. Now I all my distribution is through Symphonic now, but you know, people, you don't know who those two people are. So you play like you're playing in front of 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm. And I totally get what you're saying, Jenna. Like you never know that one person, if it's a manager or an agent, that could be your.
I've got some of those stories, but they weren't empty rooms, so I can't contribute to this conversation.
Well,
either way, yeah.
Well, Broadway, like I think of Broadway, and you know, I'm watching the bands, and I listen to the music. I'm hearing it. You know, as a musician, I can tell when. You know, you can see when the musicians, when they're doing a good job, or when they're not enjoying themselves, or whatever it is. But like, you can also look at the audience and see that no one is actually in some situations they're not actually listening to the music. They're, you know, drunk and whatever.
It's just a body on the stage.
Yes, but it could have been anyone on stage. But that's, you know. And I'm not saying that the bands aren't good. It's just that the music is all covers it all. But in the audience, you know, I've been to shows where, you know, there is a ton of people there, but they're clearly not actually listening to the music, and they're just there for the drinks. They're there to be loud or whatever. But you still play like you're playing for someone, because in that audience there might be a group of people that are paying attention. Like for me, I'm paying attention, and you know, I'll go up and talk to them afterwards. You know, I'm not any like, you know, I don't have the leverage or whatever, but like. You know, there's a new friend in town. Like, you know, I was new to town and going in to watch people play, and that's, I think that's another thing.
I hear a quote that, in classical music, someone said, like, you have a responsibility as an artist, you know, to play as the best as you can, because for someone, when you're playing, it's the first time that they're going to hear that, and for someone going to be the last time he's going to hear that.
Yeah.
That is beautiful quote.
Who said that?
I can remember.
I
remember some
guy
like,
and Victor.
Oh yeah, I invented that. I just, you know, get that, you know,
and
from my mind.
add the word "and" in there.
Yeah, and I said that. You know, so, but yeah, as an artist, we have that responsibility, and it's really, really important. Like, if you are in that stage and it's two people there, you have the responsibility to play as best as you can for that two people, that if you are in a stadium. I think that is the mentality that we need to have as a musician. Always be responsible. Is they are paying you $50 or $100, or if they are paying 1,000, 1,500, or whatever, doesn't matter. I think that is the mentality that we need to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys played at Hyde Music, right? Or did Jenna
That was just
did?
me, my solo.
Okay, 'cause
That was incredible.
somebody
Yeah,
reached
it
out
was fun,
today and
yeah.
said they missed it and they were looking forward to this interview.
Oh, yeah?
So that went well. The band was there to support you.
Yeah, we were.
Oh,
there,
gosh,
so-
yeah.
That was great. Yeah, like I've said, I'd seen her play like just that a little bit. I think at one of our gigs.
Noodling,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I didn't get. I finally get to see a full. It was. Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
was
some
really
new
good.
material too.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Were you
Well, I
on-
love Hyde Music. I mean, their baby grands are just beautiful. I don't get to play those on the regular. And in Nashville, unless you sing, you don't get booked as easily. So kind of what Senie was saying earlier, like he's singing because he's, a guitarist. My songs just don't require lyrics. I just, compositional style, George Winston, very ambient. That's just what I like to do. And there's not so many opportunities in Nashville. Man, I'm working like every night as a drummer, and I love that. But it's really special to come up here, and everyone kind of knows me as like the girl who busked during Mile of Music for like all those years on the corner of Cleo's. So it's great to play my original songs here where it's appreciated and expected.
Well, you guys are going to be playing a song in a little bit, right? Is that still
Yeah.
going to be a thing? Before we
I didn't
do,
even know these were here.
Oh, whoa.
I don't know if I have a shot there yet.
Not yet.
So,
Yeah.
so before we do that, you guys have some shows coming up yet. If people in Wisconsin want to catch you, you're going to have to go down to Madison on June 25th to the Red Rooster, or June 26th. You're going to be doing the news, so people can tune in and watch the news. Or they
Thursday
can
morning, yep.
go to Hagemeister Park. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
And that's 6 to 9 p.m. So you're doing a
Yes.
pretty long set.
All day in Green Bay. I wanted to take them to Bay Beach and ride the Zip and Pippin, but these two don't like roller coasters.
I don't blame you guys.
Like, what
Good
the
choice.
heck?
We're all
Like, now what are we going to do?
See, Jenna, there comes a point in your life where you worry about your neck and your
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, I mean,
I've been there.
I got my hand,
I've
I
been
got-
there.
what if I get caught in the,
Back with the Senie Hunt Trio. Take it away.
Oh, baby, I'm telling you, if you want an honest man out of me, oh, baby, I'm telling you, if you want an honest man out of me, you gotta give what you get what you get. Ain't no two ways about it. I ain't sitting around for lies anymore. Oh, baby, where do we go from here? Was anything ever truly real? Oh, baby, where do we go from here? Was anything wondering if it's truly real. When we sat down at the bar, drove off in my car, here to my living room.